Hey everybody, Jared here, and today we are going to learn to digitize from videotapes or DVDs or any of our video sources in the Freedman Center. We've got two different capture stations. We've got capture station number 1 and capture station number 2. Capture station number 1 has all of our regular sources on it, regular VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, Laserdisc, DV tapes, and even Betamax. While Capture 2, you see the red lines over there, that's specifically for international DVDs and VHS tapes. Now, I want to be very specific here that copyright matters. Copyright matters, copyright matters. And we can talk separately in another video about when you can use or when you should use, but I want to make it very, very clear that you should never, under any circumstances, whether or not it is international or regular, copy or duplicate, capture any video that is under copyright in its entirety. And this includes things that you captured from off air. Remember off-air recordings? That's when you popped in a videotape and videotaped it yourself. Now, if these are home movies, you're good to go. But I want to be very, very clear here that we are very, very, very aware of copyright. Now, there are exceptions, and there are very exceptions in various spaces, and we will have a different video for that. But let's get started, because there's a lot to go over here to make this work. Now, first things first, we're going to go over to the stack. I'm going to show you the regular stack, and I'm going to show you how to get started. All right, now, I got to figure out what source I'm going to have. You'll notice, by the way, there's an A-B switch, and it's A through E, and also every source is listed. Now, this equipment is quite old, so if there's any problems and something doesn't work right, make sure to email us at freedmancenterarcades.edu right away and we'll have it repaired. Now, today I'm gonna be playing with this old videotape, so I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna notice that my videotape is A, so I'm gonna make sure that A is selected. I've got a remote control for it, and I've gotta make sure that I can use the VCR, which means I'm gonna put the tape in, there's play, there's eject, there's the remote. So part of it's like just learning to use the equipment. My recommendation is always pop the tape in, always make sure to press stop, rewind, and get started from there. That's probably the easiest part of this. So let me do that right now. There's the tape. I'm gonna pop it in. It may autoplay. A lot of times the videotape will start playing by itself. And again, if you see it start moving by itself, I don't think this one's going to. But just in case, okay, it's not moving, that's good. If I press stop again, that's actually the eject button, so it's gonna pop out. This is fine. I'm gonna pop the tape back in again, and then I'm gonna hit rewind and then wait for it to completely rewind the tape. All right, then I'm gonna head over to the computer. Now, digitizing a tape is actually a multi-step process. The first thing we have to do is to play the tape into the computer, which is gonna take real time. So if it's a 1-hour tape, it's gonna take 1 hour to put in the computer. It's gonna make a very, very, very large file, which you're probably not gonna wanna take with you. Instead, what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna convert it to something smaller and take that with you. And so this is where the multiple steps come into play. Also, this is a lot of weird equipment. We've got different things going on. So I need to make sure that I show you how to get things to work as properly as we can. I'm assuming you might wanna hear the tape, and you're gonna hear the tape not through the computer, but through a speaker bar plugged into the AV stack. All right, so now we're gonna come over here. We're at FC Cap 1. I put in our key to activate the computer. You check the key out at the service desk. And I'm gonna come over to the D drive. And the D drive is our data drive. And on our data drive, we always wanna make sure that we make a folder to put our files. So I'm gonna do File. There's new folders over here. It is Home. New folder, and I'm going to use my case network ID. I'm JEB2. So now I have a folder to put my data in. Never save any data on the C drive or the desktop, because if the computer were to crash, your data would disappear instantly. So always make sure to put it in your drive, on the D drive with your network ID. Very good. Now the software that we're going to use is called Blackmagic Media Express. I'm going to double click on Blackmagic Media Express, and it's going to launch. There it is, and right now it starts at playback, and instead I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna click on the one that says login capture. And so it says login capture. You're gonna see the screen is blue. It may be a different color depending on which source that you've picked, and that's gonna make a really big difference. Now before I do anything, I'm just gonna come over to my VCR and I'm gonna hit play to see if the actual connections are there. And you'll see that it is there. Okay, great. So we can see the picture, which is good. We can see that there's audio, but we can't hear it. And the reason we can't hear it is that the computer's not going to play the audio for us. This speaker bar is. Now the speaker bar, by the way, has a remote. Oh, look, there's a remote. I'm going to go ahead and hit power. I'm going to aim it towards the speaker bar.
Years of trouble-free lamination.
There it is. And
After carefully removing the
lower my volume. And it's nice to be able to hear what you've got just to make sure that everything's good. The remote is essential, by the way. Otherwise, using the buttons isn't very good. You'll notice that my screen just turned into color bars, and that's because my videotape's kind of scrambled. This videotape is not in good shape. I've been playing with it for a very long time. So eventually it'll get good again, and that's what happens with an old tape. You never know if it's going to be good or bad. Now, let's come back over here and see what we're looking at. I'm going to come over here to Edit and Preferences, and everything is going to be set for us automatically. It's going to be saving in NTSC in a motion JPEG format, but I want to basically tell it where to put the video. I'm going to browse, and I'm going to save it to my JEB2 folder and select the folder. This way I don't have to worry about where my files are going to end up. All right, so all I'm good to go. As soon as I've got some video, and actually I can start hitting record right now, I'm going to hit capture, and it's going to capture the video. Now, you don't see any video on the screen now, you just see the color bars, and that's because this is a bad videotape. But as soon as the signal comes in again, we'll start seeing videotape, and whatever you see on the screen is what it's capturing. Don't worry, those numbers are not being recorded. That's something else. If you see numbers on the screen over here that may actually be on your videotape, there's nothing I can do about what is on the tape. Whatever is on the tape is on the tape. So we come over here, we wait. I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to fast forward until we get to a good portion of the video. There it is. So now it is actually capturing that video.
Serious injury may result. Keep all hands, clothing, and loose articles away from.
All right, let me turn off the audio so you can't hear it. So right now it's capturing, and you can see that it's capturing. It tells me that there's plenty of room on the disk, and it's just going to capture this video. And at this point, all I do is wait. And again, what you see is what you get. Videotapes are old. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're bad. Just let it go. When I'm done, let's say that it has been an hour. Yay, an hour. So let's say it's been an hour. I would have come over here and I would hit capture again, and that would stop my capture. At this point, I can actually close the software. It's going to ask me if I want to save anything. I'm not going to save anything. I don't need to worry about that. Let's come back over and take a look on the D drive and see what I just made. And if I look over here, you're going to see a file called untitled.avi. I could rename it something very useful like VHS A. I don't know, whatever I'm going to call it. And if you look, you're going to see I can actually play this videotape. I can play this file, and it'll play in VLC Media Player, but it is a very large file. And there it is. What you see is what you get. Beautiful. Now, again, when I say a very large file, what do I mean by that? Well, this file right now is 339 megabytes, and it is literally a minute and a half. So what you're looking at is 200 megabytes a minute. That means this is a very, very large file. At 200 megabytes a minute, you're looking at like 12 gigabytes an hour. Not something that you'd want to just sort of take with you. So we need to go to the next step, and that is make a file that we can actually work with. All right, so now we have this original source file. It's great and it's big, but it's also what's called interlaced. That means every frame of the video is made of two sequential fields which are interlaced together. And during fast motion, you're gonna see weird horizontal lines. What we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need to post-process the video to sort of clean up the edges of the video, which is what happens with videotapes, and to get rid of this interlacing, which is gonna be very, very noticeable on modern computer monitors. On old TVs, you would never notice it, but in modern monitors, it's completely noticeable. Not only that, we're going to take the file and we're going to change it from this very, very large AVI file into a very, very small MPEG-4 file. Now, this is going to throw away some data. It's going to transform the data, but it's going to make it usable. It's going to make it playable, and even then, it's still going to be editable. It's going to be a very good file size for us. After that, we're going to take it, we're going to throw it up onto Google Drive, and then we're going to start all over again with the next tape. All right, let's get started and convert this file from AVI to MPEG-4 while cleaning it up at the same time. All right, so let me launch TMB GENC Video Masterworks 7. Start a normal project. From Files, open the file. Now, when I do this, it's going to bring up a second window. Now, this window here I can maximize, make my life a little bit easier. And there's going to be a little window that may or may not be open. There's one called Clip Settings. I can close the Clip Settings window. And what you'll notice is that there's a little timeline that I can scrub across, and I can see my video. I can even hear it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to where my video begins, and wherever that is, I can use the I can scrub the playback head or I can even use the arrow keys to move frame by frame into where the video begins. So once I'm happy with where the video begins, I come over here to this little bracket, which basically sets my start point. I then scrub to where I want the video to end. And there it is. And then I can use the arrow keys again to make it perfect. And then I set my end point. And so this basically allows me to clip off the beginning and the end of the bad part of the video. That's all we're going to be doing right now, is basically getting the beginning and the end. The real magic for me is this part called filters. If I click on the filters here, I'm going to go through several things that are really going to clean up my video. The first thing I'm going to do is under deinterlace, where it says deinterlace when necessary, I'm going to change that to deinterlace always. And what that's going to do is it's going to clean up my video, and it's going to make it so that it's one solid image. The second thing I'm going to do is, if you'll notice, there's a little bit of black line here, a little bit of black line here, sort of a floating line here. And I'm going to come over here to crop, and I'm going to turn it on. There it is. Turn it on. And then I'm going to crop my video. And if I come over here and I crop the left, you'll notice I can bring that over. I can bring the right part over as well. And then I can even bring the bottom up a few pixels. And what that's going to do, I can bring the top down, but I don't think I need to. And what that's going to do is it's going to make a clean edge around the video. It makes a huge difference. Now, these numbers will change based on the videotape, based on the source. So don't follow mine. This is a visual task. You bring it over until you see what it is that you want. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to volume adjustment. I'm going to turn on the volume adjustment. And under audio volume, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change it to volume normalization. And what that's going to do is it's going to go through the entire video and make it as loud as possible without ruining it. So quiet videos become a little bit louder. So the idea of deinterlacing the video, cropping the video, and boosting the audio, it's going to make a really big difference here. All right, then I click on OK, and now my video is ready to go. But I've got to decide what I want to save it as. So I'm going to click on Format. And it's going to give me all sorts of presets and generic formats. Now, for my purposes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose MP4 file. I'm not going to choose the one for YouTube. I'm just going to choose generic MP4 file. And what that's going to do is it's going to output the highest quality MPEG-4 without having to think about any particular settings. I click on select and it automatically fills this window in, which I don't want to worry about. Notice, by the way, that it automatically picks the resolution. That's because I clipped off a few pixels, and that's okay. So this is the best file I'm going to do. All I click on is encode. And then down here, it's going to tell me where it's going to put it. Now remember, I don't want to stick it just in the G drive by itself. I'm going to browse for my folder. Always take the time and put things in your folder. Save and start. And that's it. I wait for it to process. Now, this is a very, very short clip. As you remember, it was only a few seconds. So what it's going to do is it's going to analyze the audio, it's going to fix the audio, and it is going to convert it into a video file. And when it's done, it's going to allow me to open the output folder. And the file that was 339 megabytes is now 10 megabytes. Literally 10 megabytes. And it's going to look practically identical to the original, except with cleaner edges. That's it.
This symbol means that serious injury may result. Keep all.
So that's it. The basic premise is you take your videotape, you put it in the stack. You capture the videotape into the computer and you listen to it using the speaker bar. After it's been captured, you bring it into TMP-GNC Video Masterworks. What a mouthful of a program. Really, really powerful. I clip off the beginning and the end. I deinterlace the video, crop the video, boost the volume, and export it as a generic MPEG-4. And that file is going to be much smaller. It's going to be virtually identical to the original, and it's going to be the one that you're going to be able to work with. If you have any questions, please let us know. It is a very long, but very straightforward process. I would recommend that you digitize the entire tape. I would recommend that you convert the entire tape. Take the file with you and then worry about editing it later. How do you take it with you? I recommend Google Drive, but you could put it on a flash drive or anything else. Anyway, my name is Jared. If you have any questions, Freedman Center at case.edu. We're always here to help.